Andre Roux,
Lovely.
Wonderful World, the second choice of our Conister Rock guest, Sir Miles Walker, this afternoon. And in 1966, you did marry Mary. Your first child, Mark, born in 1969, and your daughter, Mary, followed 4 years later. How did having children change your life?
Oh, immensely. I mean, it adds a new dimension. And it's because of those two, and we call her Claire, although Mary Claire after my wife, she's Claire to us. Having these two little ones growing up, going to school, bright kids, you wonder what it's in it for them in the future. And I reflected on what that teacher said to me at Castle Rushen: if you want to make anything of yourself, you have to leave this place. I was going on doing milk rounds, then met loads and loads of people, some new to the Isle of Man, some people who've been here forever, and talking to them, I knew somehow that their aspirations and the aspirations they had for their kids weren't going to be met. And I had that feeling, what are these two going to do if they're not going to farm? And Mark did farm. And that was the motivation I had to go into the House of Keys, because I felt there was something about this place which was wonderful, and that we could change the attitude. We could build careers here for young people, and you know, to a large extent that has happened. But the thought that if you want to do anything other than be a farmer's son or a boarding house keeper or one of the very few accountants or advocates, you just had to go to another jurisdiction. Sort of left me cold, and I wanted to do something about that.
So you were a member of Arbury Commissioners first of all. Would you
I
see that as your sort of training ground?
I suppose so. Always interested in what's going on and so on. And Cecil McPhee, who was a member of the House of Keys for Rushen, was a neighbour of ours, and he was always very encouraging for me to do things. Howard Simcox, who was a member of Tynwald, a member of the House of Keys, used to come round canvassing and talking to us. And I suppose I just thought, you know, as a young person with something I thought to offer, I'd like to have a go. So and I did.
1976, you contested your first general election to become a member of the House of Keys. You were successful. What do you remember about that election night, getting that result?
Oh, being on a high like I've never been on a high before, I think. It was quite a late decision to stand for election. So it was probably September or end of August before we decided to stand for the election, which would be in the November. And sort of having made the decision, it was then a matter of getting out and talking to people. And Noel Kringle, another sort of pal of mine, had been in the House of Keys for a couple of years. So he went in 74, I think. Eddie Lowie in 75. And I stood in 76 and sort of got in with those two. So I knew them both well. They both went to Castle Rushen. The attitudes at the hustings were absolutely great because we knew each other, we could talk to each other, we enjoyed for each other and so on. And the people just came out of the woodwork to help me. And I can't believe it. My very great pal, who has just passed away, Alan Clucas, sort of stood in as election agent. I suppose that's what you call him today anyway, just as a pal then. And he would come back every week with more people and said, these people want to help. These people would like you to get in. They're going to support you. And amazing feeling. And I can remember going out with him and buying a few bottles of champagne to have in at home, or fizzy wine, I suppose it would be. And I took them into the house, and my wife said, don't you bring those in here. Don't you presume anything's going to happen. We weren't allowed a pram in the house before the baby was born, and it was the same thing with this champagne. So that went out. And lucky enough to get elected, knew so many people and got so many messages of support and congratulations that it was just a fantastic time. Really, really enjoyed it, and have enjoyed every election I've stood for since.
Still had the same buzz, did they, the remaining four?
Yes. and the same feeling of support from the community for what I was trying to do, which was great.
Well, let's pause now for your third piece of music. What have you chosen here and why?
Well, I've chosen Ellen Vannin because I think it's just a song that reminds everybody of the Isle of Man. And a lot of people believe it's our Manx national anthem, which is not, but it is almost. And I would have liked it by Graham Crowe. I mean, Graham Crowe is another sort of farming friend of mine. And he sang Ellen Vannin at the funeral of Harvey Briggs, who was the captain of the parish of Onchan. But more importantly to me, he and Laura are the ones that nurtured us young farmers sort of growing up through our 20s and 30s. He never had a family. All the young farmers in the Isle of Man were Harvey Briggs's family, I think. And he knew all of us by name. He was just a wonderful guy. And when he died, at his funeral, Graham sang Ellen Vannin. I would have liked that. But if we've got to have the Bee Gees, we've got to have the Bee Gees, and I think they make a pretty good job of it.